Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us on day 2 of the PanAm Aquatics 2024 convention. We are really excited to kick off another day of knowledge and sharing and connecting with all of you. Yesterday was amazing and hearing all of your perspectives. So thank you so much for being here with us today. This seminar will be in English, so if you wish to listen to the seminar in Spanish, please click the interpretation button at the bottom of your screen. Si desea escuchar esta presentación que va a ser en inglés, si la quiere escuchar en español, por favor, apriete el botón de interpretación al fondo de su pantalla. Así que con eso vamos a empezar. Y really warm welcome to Dr. Viktor Huszár, who is going to talk to you all about driving social media innovation and organizational growth. Viktor is the head of the digital committee for World Aquatics and chairman of the International Techball Federation. Holding a PhD in computer vision and artificial intelligence, he led FINA's transition to World Aquatics across all digital platforms, achieving significant performance metrics during the Olympic Games. His innovative approach to technology has made a lasting impact on aquatic sports. So it is a profound honor to welcome Viktor here with us today, a fellow PhD here in the room. So really excited to hear, how you incorporate this knowledge of, technology and artificial intelligence and now are applying it in an organizational context for growth. So thank you so much, Viktor. The screen is all yours.
Thank you so much. Muchas gracias. Also, buenos días por todos. I'm going to speak in English just to have any questions. Of course, I'm happy to answer. It's a very interactive presentation. So anyone has anything, please feel free to jump in and comment and ask, because the objective of this presentation is, besides showing you some very specific data about World Aquatics and also how that is related to PanAm Aquatics and also to the national federations. Therefore, the end result should be how you should change your social media content creation, and also how we should share on the platforms, and also how we should share between PanAm, the national federations, and World Aquatics, the different contents that are being created. And I must start with that we are doing some research about the national federations, and there is a lot of space for improvement. So I'm very happy that I have the chance to speak about this, because eventually this is a win-win for everyone. If there is good content, then both the national federation, the athlete, the continental federation, and the world governing body are happy, because we are generating more viewership. So I even actually thought about maybe jumping first to this, which probably you haven't seen, about the Olympic Games. This was such a huge success for our beloved aquatic sports, partially because of you as well, that it makes sense to start with the data, because we actually won, if there is any competition amongst international federations, but we actually won the competition amongst the federations in terms of social media, the digital ranking, because you see the numbers. Simply, we had more interactions, more video views, and on the different platforms, more engagement, sharing, commenting, the true reach. And I'm going to talk about that, then the rest of the others. But how do we do that? I think that's always the question. And I'm sure you have seen the different celebrities attending the games, from Snoop Dogg to different funny videos when the guy jumped into the pool. So how can you artificially generate some content which feels organic? That's going to be one objective of the session today. And also to understand a little bit how the fans and how the engagement works from a computer scientific perspective. So this is for us a huge success, and I really hope that it was not just World Aquatics, but also PanAm and the PanAm family members also feeling that the Olympics actually generated more eyeballs. Again, at the end of the year, we are planning to have a comparison, which we will share with PanAm, so you can learn specific data about each of you, and also it's not a competition, but a little bit it's always is, certainly to see the different ranking. Where are you at in terms of social media according to World Aquatics? Of course, there are countries with bigger population and countries with smaller population, but population-based ranking is also possible to achieve because of this true reach or true engagement that we are using. You can also see the statistics of how we performed during the Olympic Games. Um, Again, we are trying to be as gender equal as possible, but organically speaking, and looking at the different federations, you can see that the number two was almost all the time basketball. Who can tell me why was it basketball? What's the answer? It's a very simple answer. Why basketball finished second? Usually they are not in the top three. They are in the top five, top 10, but usually they are not in the top. Why was this year? I don't know if someone will speak or comment, or can they speak? The listeners. Valerie, can they speak,
Yeah,
or are they
you
are
can put
they
your responses in the Q&A so we can see. What do you guys think?
okay? Yeah, so they can put in the chat as well.
David, yes, you have David is raising the hand. If you can put your answer in the Q&A, we receive that. So we'll
Yeah,
give.
because I want to make it interactive. And think about it. Why is basketball the second during the Olympic Games? You know, it's a very simple answer. Very simple answer. Um, and then it also helps you to understand in content generation how and things how they work. Um, but I move forward as well, because we do the benchmark ourselves. We do the benchmarks ourselves. Maybe I'm going to just speed up now. Well, I tell you the answer for basketball. It was because of the second dream team. The United States now brought, you know, after Michael Jordan at the 1992 Olympics, that's how they actually built NBA global from an American product, and now they are trying to do the second try when they try to make NBA more global. That's why NBA Africa is starting, you know, NBA in the Middle East starting. So NBA, which is not even the governing body, actually helped FIBA to reach this spot because of LeBron and all these famous celebrities, and the US engaged so much because of this. Um, as you know, we are doing the benchmark with the others. So we always want to see how we perform and which contents are performing. Um, and Team USA certainly, because of the size of the country, always help us to achieve very good engagement numbers as well. So some of the videos are now, you know, reaching almost 100 million. Um, we are happy to see that it actually resulted in the follower numbers growing during the Olympics. And you can see at the bottom the comparison to the top performing other federations. So why do we do this? Of course, it's good to see the competition, because who are you competing with when you are talking about social media? First, everyone. Second, certainly those who are involved with aquatic sports, um, and it can be any content, but you try to get the engagement from those people who have some connection. They already like something, that their kids are at a club. So those are the audiences that you try to reach. And the algorithm is working based on what you, your friends like, watch, how long you retain and watch the different contents, and the algorithm makes the profiling based on that. So that's why understanding your audience is key. And for us, probably that's what we try to understand in the last couple of years better than the others. And we also did our own content generation, which proved to be a success as well. We will also have some news in the other part of the presentation for you, where we will try to help also the Spanish speaking content creation as well. So our job is also to support both PanAm and the national federations. That's a service we would like to extend in the future for everyone, because of course it comes to budget, how much budget you have to creating content. um, and this show that we did was working very well. And what I mentioned, we had famous celebrities also attending the show. So like Lady Gaga, Tom Cruise, Serena Williams, and so on. And then the engagement from famous celebrities as well online happened. We are present also on the Chinese market. Probably that's not that relevant for you, but for the world body, it is. Okay, so knowing how and what we have been doing and seeing the Paris results, I think we can go a little bit and dig into the world of digital. Truth or dare. Why is truth or dare? Because I tell you the truth, and then you decide what you can implement and how you can get budget to implement that. When we talk about the strategy, we prefer to talk about a longer circle. So at World Aquatics, it's an Olympic cycle. And I suggest that all of you, both as a continental federation, but as a national federation, you also try to break it down to the Olympic cycles, because most of you will have the Olympic committees also looking at, and also the other entities looking at how you have been doing in between the Olympic cycles. But we are very objective based. What does that mean? As you could see, the numbers. We are numbers based, how many engagement, how many followers. So we know all the statistics, and there are different platforms that help you to analyze. We will maybe circulate some of these analysis tools that can help you to understand better your own social media sites as well. So what does this mean? First of all, when we talk about social media, what are we talking about? You can see the numbers again, and also the different target groups. So what I often see, and also I have seen this at some of you, most of you, that even when you have more platforms, you try to duplicate the content. And this is not working anymore. You know, if you want to duplicate and basically copy paste content on the different platforms, don't expect miracles, because simply the target groups are already different and they are using different platforms. And even now it's more and more evolving. You know, Instagram launching the threads. So don't expect that you will have success when you just do the copy paste. Um, when we talk about the type of content, also we analyze the so-called return on the investment. So there are trends that you need to know when you decide that you will upload content. And just to show you something, probably this is interesting to see, that when we talk about short form videos, what is successful? Uh, I mean, it's not rocket science, but it's good to see the numbers. So if you are planning to do a video which is, you know, more than 2 minutes, your chance is below 3% that anyone is going to actually fully watch it. And I've been tracking the YouTube video retention rate. So how long someone watches the video, which has been dropping from year to year, and the engagement is dropping from year to year. So now we are around this 1 minute threshold, where you can keep your audience interactive. And then you can calculate the return on investment on the media you are doing. So because of this, you can clearly see that the reason why TikTok and these platforms evolve, which mostly contain these short form videos, is because the consumption of the social media changed. So now short form videos are more relevant to the different audiences. Again, here you can see what we recommend and why we recommend it to you. If you ask me, where are most of the social media sites for PanAm Aquatics? Well, unfortunately, it's still in the building phase. So of course there are some who are performing better, but still we would like to have this report at the end of the year to show you a mirror of what you have been achieving individually. Again, it's not a criticism, rather a building report to show you what to do, but without being too diplomatic. Simply, we don't see any strategic thinking in most of the national federations and also in the content. And also between PanAm and between World Aquatics and between the national federations, there is a lack of communication regarding the digital contents. So I'm glad we are doing this, because this should be the start of that, when our team is going to be more engaged with all of you to have much better results, because some of these examples were when certain user-generated contents have really performed well in certain countries, but the rest of the world never heard about it. So we also see those examples, especially, because of the language, because of the territory base, because of the actual athletes, but it would be relevant to both PanAm Aquatics and to World Aquatics as well. And then again, we come to the money. There are commercial reasons why you should build this, because most of the brands, most of the marketing departments are looking at these numbers. Also, what is your social media achievement? So looking at that, it's a must-have now. And even when we are talking about like host cities or tourisms, this is a must-have. And then you have the golden triangle: national federation, sponsor, and commercial entities. It's very unlikely that these days, that unless you have a personal relationship to the sponsor or to the municipality, they will always want their return on their investment. So what we have been doing with World Aquatics, since we changed the name FINA to World Aquatics, it's a remarkable growth on these platforms without really having enormous money invested. So rather, we invested in organic content creation than actually boosting any of the social media content we have been doing. Okay, how do you do then the fan engagement? But first of all, most of the national federations and also PanAm itself, you have a lot of content creators. So without doing anything, you have amazingly a lot of athletes who are on social media creating their own content. The question is, how do you identify the good content? And also, how do you teach your athletes to create good content? So we are going to talk about that as well. And eventually, how is a good content created? And I think for that, you need to understand the two types of content, what we talked about it when it comes to video and short video formats, that the algorithms of the platforms, they identify the device you are using, and they identify the different facial and computer vision recognition patterns. So for example, they know how many people smiled. They understand whether it was an iPhone or whether it was a professional broadcast camera. So there's a huge difference in how organically the platform boosts a type of content. So, when you look at the most successful viral content, it happens very rarely that it's a professional videographer, meaning that they are using broadcast type of quality cameras. So this means that anyone we can use as a content creator, and obviously you can prepare your own content using very cheap devices, including smartphones these days. And then the other idea we have been exploring is that most of the content, and it's true also for World Aquatics, is very linear. So there is nothing about the other aspects of aquatic disciplines, meaning, for example, the health aspect. So this is also something we would like to explore in the future, but for you, I'm dropping this idea in as well, that, after all, swimming, for example, is not just competitive swimming, but it's your survival. It's for many health related problems. So we are looking at like how professors could create engaging content about how they saw for the last 20 years people with back problems, and those guys were never swimming, but those who were swimming 3 times a week. So there is scientific proof for some of these disciplines, but that's another angle where you can create very engaging content without really focusing on the core of the actual aquatics. And pretty sure that most of people like that. The own content house will be a plan for World Aquatics. This is where we are going to connect, because this can help also in the different languages. We plan to have Spanish speaking content creation. So this could also help as well, the national federations. And as I mentioned, we will ask you to identify those athletes who would be able to become even more rising stars. So that's a homework for all of us to do. And what about the different innovations? Well, as you know, there are different collaboration options as well. So if you identify those athletes that are already performing well on social media, um, uh, then you can also create different collaborations with them. Live sessions can also help, but probably we will talk about that at the next stage. But live sessions can give you a boost and can increase your audiences. Um, and and what we would like to ask you is to think about in your own country who would be such a rising star that would be even interesting on global level, who could be the ambassador of the discipline in your country, who could be again continental and global star, because it would make sense to jointly think about that, and identifying these athletes would be much better if it would come from the continental or the national federation, because simply World Aquatics should also invest in some of these rising stars to digitally build up the profile of these people. It's good for the athlete, it's good for PanAm, it's good for the national federation, obviously with the necessary arrangements, so everyone commercially understands why we are doing such an investment. We are exploring the different immersive contents as well, but mostly for broadcast. Again, some of these broadcast materials are always performing well, and we are thinking about how to improve the broadcast of the different global competitions. Especially now with AI, we can see clearly what can work and what not. And probably you have seen at different disciplines at the Olympic Games as well, when the broadcast was moving, like a still picture, but becoming a motion picture. Fortunately, not with our sport, but Alibaba and these major providers are going to have a look at how we can improve our broadcasting. or we are looking at how the different providers can help with that. And then again, wearable technologies. This is something that for content creation, it's interesting for the people to understand how they perform, what is their heart rate when they're doing the turns at certain distances. So these kind of things can be generated artificially and look organically. So even at a training session, with a coach being recorded by a phone, and can give that expression, even if it's a little bit acting like, oh, no way, like, look at the heart rate, like, wow, it's like 150, and so on and so on. So that can be that facial impression, that can be that sound for the algorithm, again with a simple camera, showing the emotions about how a young talent performs. And it can be even, younger audiences. People like these emotional things. I'm sure all of you have seen videos of unknown kids, unknown people, which have millions of views. Why? Because of the emotion of either the kid, which starts and triggers a reaction with the audience. Most of the people have kids, so they want to feel exactly what the person who had been recorded feels. Again, maybe without even showing the pool itself, it can happen that simply the mother starts to cry for whatever reason. So this can be a little bit artificially boosted. One example is during the Olympics. I'm sure most of you have seen the guy who jumped in with the speedo to the pool, and which went viral. He became the hero of the Olympics. He wasn't a professional swimmer. He looked like a funny guy with a funny speedo, but then the whole world was speaking about aquatics. It has nothing to do, nothing related to competitive swimming. It has nothing to do. It's just pure entertainment, artificially boosted, so we are able to get people engaged. And then the algorithm, after this fun entertainment, is going to drop them more of the aquatic contents, because people watched how this guy was trying to get something out of the pool. So that's why I mentioned these examples. Yeah, the questions are very, very welcome. And then what's new is probably that even WhatsApp Business and then automated messaging platforms are new, but it could be a good way to integrate with the National Federation family members. What does it mean? Like in the different age groups, the different parents, you can get your database and you can directly communicate with them. So this is something for all of you to explore, to create your own automated and semi-automated WhatsApp groups where you can collect the data. Okay, going forward, I think we spoke about innovations enough. Um, the money. Why are we doing that? Obviously, because if you are able to show that you have better numbers than others in your country, which comes to sports sponsorship, then it's the one out of many indicators why they should invest with your federation. Um, and when it comes to money, I'm talking about value in kind collaborations as well. So these probably a step one would be enough to start with, but it's a catch 22. So why would I sponsor now a national federation in the PanAm if I know the president? Okay, so personal relation. But if I look at from pure commercial perspective, then I'm going to say, okay, what are your engagement numbers? How many return I get because of this? And there are brands who are more looking at, like, the famous bigger brands who are more looking at the eyeballs and the engagement. And then are, of course, there are upcoming brands that might actually want to get conversion of the customers. But right now, um, how would you do that if you don't have enough followers? You cannot convince that. So there must be some sort of investment coming into this aspect of the national federations, um, because we see that on a global level there is interest. So the numbers prove that there is global interest for aquatics, and we know how many people swim. Most of the countries, that's a very high number. And I'm talking about all the other disciplines, because it's not always swimming who performs very well. In diving, in synchro, artistic, we have amazing content, creating really, really good eyeballs, and not because many people will do artistic, but because of the spectacular performances. So looking at that, I strongly suggest that there is a strategic vision of how to start the actual social media department within the national federations. Again, we talked about few specific steps that we can collaborate on, and then in the future, obviously, there can be different aspects, such as video on demand, but that's far away, so let's not waste time on that now. And then the value in kind collaborations. Sometimes every penny you save is a penny you make. So think about that, how you can make money by providing, and that's probably at step one also possible, who can be your partner in growing, and you can convince them that simply that at this stage, it's not the cash we are looking for, but those kind of value in kind contributions that help the athletes and help the national federation in any form. um, so what are we doing? We are trying to do the data mapping. And why are we doing that? Because we would like to understand the database of everyone who is involved in any of the disciplines. You focus now, most of you, on those who are, professional athletes or want to be professional athletes. But what about the masters people? What about all the other members of the aquatic family? Um, and what about the people who just like to swim? So so we try to identify now the different stakeholders, and this is something you should all start to do. It's not enough that you have some sort of connection. This is pure data. How do you connect now to the under 12 swimmer in whatever club? So this is something everyone should start to think about, and we will try to have some sort of solutions how to be able to collect the data, for all of you, because that is the data you can monetize, and that's the data which will be interesting for your sponsors, for your commercial partners, and that's the data which you need if you actually want to drive them onto your social media platforms. Um, so obviously, from PanAm and global, World Aquatics level, we need to think about the national federations and the service we need to provide to help you achieve this. But I'm dropping now these in because of that. Okay, and then the content house. We plan to establish a content house as World Aquatics. Why is this interesting for you? Because then we can collaborate on content. So this is how, back and forth the content can move. And we are trying to identify the influencers, these rising stars, but we need your help about that. So we can get, hopefully in the next 6 months, we can get to an understanding of who are the ones in each of the continent, or more men, women who would need or who should have the boost also from World Aquatics. Again, of course, media partnership, that's nothing special to mention, but you know we started to have these fun races when non-professional people can also swim and race, and that's a different type of engagement. But if anyone who is involved in such a fun activity, they are going to have better media reports about your national federation. So media is still power. Do not forget those guys as well. And then the languages, of course, we want to cover. Um, for you, Spanish is obviously, as you can see, Spanish is when you disregard Chinese and some other great countries with a lot of people, but Spanish is the second most spoken language in the world. So no question that we would like to work on more Spanish content, which is related to PanAm Aquatics, primarily to PanAm because this is relevant to PanAm, but again to national federations as well, and obviously the other languages, also in the continent. So we spoke about the content. We spoke about the new pioneering ideas. I think as a relevant ending to this is the summary that we expect that you do the homework by identifying the rising star athletes and those who could be ambassadors, identifying external influencers who can bring a new touch point to the content, and also looking at your own departments, who could be responsible, who could be educated from Word and PanAm Aquatics in workshops, but more detailed workshops like this. So who would be responsible for implementing the National Federation social media? Because each national federation having bigger social media reach, the algorithm is going to help PanAm and World Aquatics, and back and forth this works. If someone likes World Aquatics in a country, in Brazil, it doesn't matter in which country, then the algorithm is going to bring forward the content from your own national federation as well. So this is probably the most important taking. And if you have any questions, I'm very happy to answer that. It took me a little bit of time to get to the end, but I hope it gave you a good understanding of what's going to happen on global level and how we should cooperate amongst each other.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Victor. This was incredibly insightful. So thank you so much for sharing this with us. And this applies, to our athletes watching, to our coaches watching, this applies to your club teams as well, right? It's not just for national federations. So it's anyone can take this information and run with it, as you mentioned. So we have
Yeah,
about
national federations for us means the clubs, coaches, families, athletes. Exactly. That.
Thank you. Yes, no, that's super useful. Thank you so much. So we have a couple minutes for Q&A. So I'll just speed fire through questions to get to as many as we can. So we have a couple questions as to how do you engage different age groups? Does that, do you have a target for specific content? As you mentioned, maybe you have more doctor-based content, which might appeal a larger audience, especially an older audience, or do you have specific techniques to do so?
Well, it depends on the platform. So what I showed you in the beginning, you know, the best way to do it is that on different platforms, who do you expect? And then the content is based on the platform. So the TikTok content is not the same as the LinkedIn content, to give two good examples to that. But you need to generate the content based on target audience, and that's why the analysis is important, such as platforms as Buffer, and I can give you some. So understand, and you could clearly see men, women, age groups. So you can clearly see your platform analysis, how many of which target group, which age group is following you right now, and how that's organically growing when you start creating content. And even content based, you see that. So that's why we work with analysis platforms, so we understand clearly. Also, the social media platforms have their own analysis, but we also use external analysis as well.
Yeah, and I love that you mentioned how we can, as a continent, work together. I love that perspective as to how we can bolster our clubs, our national federations, and kind of have this communication around the content that we're posting so that it has synergy. What is one piece of advice that you would give for people starting Monday, that they could do to engage in these conversations? How do we link, the content that we're having or form these partnerships to produce that?
I would identify also in each national federation who is responsible for the project. Let's call it the social media project, because the consistency is needed And if there is no consistency, because the people working on this are always changing, and no one is really the product owner, as we call, then it will be more difficult to keep the frequency of the posts and to teach and educate what kind of posts should be, and how do you get these posts and how do you collect these posts. Because it's very likely that parents record every day in your country amazing emotional moments which would be viral, but you don't really have this, you don't really get this, because you don't even look for it and you never really asked for it. So unless it becomes viral on the father's or mother's TikTok account or a Facebook account, you will never find these contents, but you never asked for it. So don't be surprised. That's what we try to have, and that's why we need one or two people, in each national federation and in each club, who is responsible for the club's social media journey in the strategic Olympic cycle.
Yeah, and when we talk about especially, smaller countries or smaller federations or smaller clubs, just smaller scales usually, like we can do a great job, putting together a great, content schedule, have good, content creation, etc. But if we don't have the platform for it, right, it's not reaching the people it should reach. So what is your best advice as to how to start building that, right? Like what is the tip to begin that journey?
Identifying those content creators that can be a young kid, can be a swimmer, can be a diver, doesn't matter. Identify the ones who can resonate the most, and then we will tell you yes or no. We can help you with that. But content nowadays is very human based. So if you are from a small country, then it's even more emotional if someone has an achievement which is outstanding. It's not just the athletic performance. It's outstanding that, after 10 failures, 11 times she tries the diving. And then this is a 30-second content. 1, 2, 3, 4, crying and so on. And then 11th, the jump happens. It's not an Olympic record. It's a simple 10-meter dive for an 11-year-old kid. But that 11-year-old kid is our actor. And it's organic in that sense, because the message is like, don't give up. We are from, I don't know, and I don't want to offend any countries, we are from a small country, don't give up. Here we are coming. This is a viral content immediately.
Yeah. Well, with that note, thank you so much, Victor, for your time and for sharing this with us. And we're so excited to hit the ground running on Monday with all of this. So thank you so much, and we're so thrilled to have you here, and we'll be in touch for sure.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Muchas gracias a todos.
Muchas gracias.
Vamos a lunes. Empezamos a todos, ¿ok? Por favor. Muchas gracias, Maureen. Muchas gracias. Besos a todos. Valerie.
Thank you
Ciao,
so
ciao.
Thank you, Victor.
Thank you.